Going to be eating a shock dart, but he's able to makes it
win anything. Sam, defend your team because they haven't won.
Strap
yourselves in, it's another 1 hour episode.
Oh yeah.
Spike defused.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Press 4 to Defuse. Your weekly spot for Valorant esports news and discussion. I'm Darth Mike, here joined by Sam and Paul, and we're going to be talking through Masters. We're going to be talking through some agent changes. We're going to be talking through Valorant. How we feeling today, everybody?
Pretty good. Pretty blown away by the Masters results, but pretty good.
I just wanted to lob that up there and get you to step on each other's toes right off the bat on the cue.
You failed, but
Thanks.
you did succeed in creating like a pregnant pause. Just, silence.
Yeah.
No,
I resisted
Trying
the
to go
urge
for
to
another
say,
one.
you know what?
Damn it,
No, we're
Sam.
just gonna move on.
Now you're
Move on
stepping
from that
on each
term.
other's toes.
All right,
Oh my God.
all right. Let's jump into it, Paul. You missed your chance. We're going to talk about Valorant. We're going to talk about Valorant, our segment
Good.
called Run It Back, presented by Temple University, where we talk about the news from the last week. And despite it being the Masters, and you'd think that would be distracting people, there is some big news. First of all, we got the new 100 Thieves roster. It's confirmed. It was rumored before. It's Asuna, Bang, Stellar, Will, and Derek. And now, since I cut you off earlier, I'll let you open the floor here, Paul. How you feeling about this roster?
I feel the same way I did 2 weeks ago when we talked about it, right?
Yep.
I think it is a really cool change in the aspect that I like seeing it. I like seeing DDK and Sean come in and make big changes that have high potential, right? I think a lot of this roster has a really high skill ceiling, and it might take a while to reach that ceiling. And based on what we've heard about 100 Thieves management from certain sources, that might be an issue later down the line. But I am excited to see, hopefully we get to see that ceiling. Hopefully.
We kind of spoke about this quite a bit about 2 weeks back when we had the leak. So there is like a lot of discussion there. But just to kind of reiterate, as Paul says, there is a high ceiling. These are some pretty damn good players individually. And, with a little bit of time, and they do have just a little bit of time to start building up that necessary synergy. I think they're actually playing in the upcoming nights.
Yeah, they're playing.
I say upcoming, maybe it started. Yeah. So it's already started. So they are playing. If you guys want to check out the new team, you can definitely go do that. You probably should. But yeah, this is a pretty exciting move for 100 Thieves because they've brought in the big brains of Sean and DDK, and looking forward to seeing how that progresses.
Yeah, I think that there's a really good piece that 100 Thieves put out. Trust them to make some good content, where Sean and DDK talk through their decisions with this roster and why they made the decision. And I think it's interesting for a few things. First of all, obviously, the notable omission from this roster is Ethan. People weren't sure whether he was going to be included. It seems that he is a free agent, or he's not a free agent. He's on the bench, but he's open to offers and open to new opportunities. So that's an interesting one. They talked about the fact that they still feel like he's a star duelist and one of like the best players in the game, but he just didn't fit into their vision of this roster. And I find that very interesting because one of the things they talk about very they emphasized in this video was building culture and making sure that everyone was on the same page. And to me, that's a lot of what this roster rebuild is about, right? You took the strong voices. He goes retiring to be a content creator. Ethan's out of the roster. Asuna, he's a dominant player, but he's very young, and this is his first foray into being a top player. So he doesn't have maybe those same entrenched philosophies, shall we say. So I think this is really exciting for a couple of reasons. I also think it's really good that Sean and DDK, both being guys who come from the CS space, clearly aren't going to go hunt down those old CS names, right?
Exactly.
Kill your darlings comes to mind here. Like, Hiko's an old teammate. They had no pretensions about that. Ethan's a guy that, they both respected when he was a CS player. No issues with that. Like, they're making their bold vision happen, and either it'll succeed and it'll be great, or it'll be bad and we'll all roast them in 6 months. But who knows? I'm excited for this roster composition. I also am very excited to see Stellar get another shot to lead a team. I thought that he did not get enough credit for that LG roster. That was really exciting.
For sure.
Was it a year or 2 years ago? God,
a year ago.
A year ago.
Yeah.
Time is confusing. But I think if he gets if this roster pops off and develops well, I think it's going to really build his resume as an in-game leader, and I think that is it's an interesting one to keep an eye on.
Certainly.
But yeah, should we move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, moving on through. We obviously got a lot of Masters to talk about, so we'll try and not get entrenched like we usually do. Alliance say no, goodbye, bye roster. This was maybe tipped a little bit earlier when the Banks left the team. Obviously, he was the GM of the team. They've been benching like support staff, I think, for a while now. So I'm feeling like maybe their contracts. We'll note that their contracts are still active, apparently, but Alliance go bye. Sam, what do you make of it?
I feel like Alliance might be leaving the scene like a lot of teams have been doing, particularly because they didn't have the run that they wanted in the VRL in Polaris.
Mm-hmm.
They came very close. I mean, geez, they were up there with Excel. They were performing exceptionally, but unfortunately, they didn't make it into the promotion tournament, never mind into actual VCT. And it's going to be a while before they would get that shot again. And it doesn't really make sense to hold on to a roster in the interim. And I mean, we saw with Tundra, as soon as the tournament was over, they just dropped their whole roster. They basically left Valorant. They're just like, well we outie. And we spoke about how, sorry, Paul.
Sorry,
a lot of that had to do with like lack of content, lack of eyes on the tournament and stuff like that. And I think that that's still a big problem. And it's probably another thing that has also affected Alliance. Like there's a lot of these small things that have gone into it, but it looks like they're just reversing on out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and what I was going to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you were done. Was that it's a rough time. It's a rough time to be an EMEA team outside the VCT realm, right?
Yeah.
Like if you didn't make promotion, there's not a lot going on in EMEA tournament wise in the next.
Well, you say
6
that.
months.
That is not entirely true.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Polaris just announced their VRC. There's 4 tournaments that are coming up. They're in partnership with the Goose House, Epic LAN, Leagues GG, and DreamHack Summer. And you compete in all of those, you get points, and then whatever. So the VRC is like the baby VRL, and then you work your way up there. So finally it got announced literally today. So you were not entirely misled there, but yeah.
Even then? You say baby VRL, and if one of the problems with the VRLs was that they weren't getting enough viewership and attention and promotion, like I think at the very least, as an org, it is a difficult time and money sink for honestly, potentially not much return as an org outside of the VCT in EMEA.
I think this is exactly why they've partnered. So a lot of the VRL production houses are running their own tournaments, but Polaris realized, okay, there was clearly a huge lack here, so we're going to go with these established people. The Goose House, one of the biggest Valorant, in fact the biggest Valorant community in the European region, Epic LAN, super standard, DreamHack, please, how much more established do you want at that point? So they go with these really big names, and I think that this is a really smart move to try and drive up viewership numbers.
It's an interesting one. I do think Alliance is another indication that this is a pretty brutal ecosystem right now, from an org side of things. And basically, if you're not making VCT, then you need to have a realistic expectation that you're going to be considered for a franchise league if a franchise league exists. And otherwise, is it worth having? Because like, if you're Alliance, right? I don't know much about Alliance's financials, but they're not a team that is super big in terms of a brand, right? They made a splash by bringing on Banks and Mitch to build their Valorant roster. That was the way that they got buy-in and splash. The team's never really done much, right? They've always been like, we're close to making it. We're close to making it. We made it, but then we get, they've never had the results, right? So there's nothing to really encourage either fan buy-in for the team or to encourage, let's say, Riot is at one point moving on to a franchise league. This is an assumption that we keep making, but like, there's no indication that this team would be considered, right? I don't know what their pocketbooks are like, but unless they had some sort of communication from Riot that they were in the running, like, why stick around? What are you going to gain? What are you going to gain other than a money sink? And there's been some discussion recently about how expensive players are. You see the discussion about artists. What artists would have cost. He would have cost like $650,000 between transfer fee, signing bonus, and yearly salary to pay, and that's
wild.
That's not sustainable, right? Like, that's insane. That's the high end, I assume. I hope. But you know, if a team like Alliance is paying a fraction of that for 5 players, and I'm talking a tiny fraction, if a team like Alliance is paying $500,000 a year for the whole damn team, which would be a fraction of those players, that is still
a lot
to
not be in VCT. That's a lot.
Yeah, and I don't think they're paying that much either. But literally, if everyone's getting $50K a year, and they're paying $250,000, is a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
and
that's like a lot of money.
Even $50K isn't even that unreasonable, right?
That's like I mean, depending on where people live, that's like a living salary. Right?
Exactly.
That is way over a living salary in South Africa. I'll just put that out there.
Teams are, the ping in South Africa is pretty rough.
But yeah,
true.
yeah.
That is the
Back
least
to your
of our
point, Mike.
problems.
Esports teams are expensive if you're going to pay people real salaries. And with some of the salaries that are floating around, there's not much incentive to not take a real salary. So it's tough. And if you don't see the return on investment coming through, if the viewership on your team isn't enough to attract the sponsors that you need, if the numbers aren't making your sponsors happy, like, it's tough out here, man. Yeah. It's tough. And this is going to just kind of be the Wild West to a certain degree for orgs that don't have deep pockets until there's more structure. Or you become one of the teams that's just continually in the top run. So I get it. Yeah. Just a bit of a bummer from a few different directions. We'll move on. Back to NA. Gen G announced their new players, JC Stani and Pure coming through. Very excited to see Pure get another home. Obviously, he was removed from Exet and has been on the bench for a while or out in the wild. East Coast land dude. I've known Pure since he was a minor. So literally, like he would come to East Coast lands with his mom. And now he's crushing it.
Shout out.
Get
I mean, this is what Gen G needed too, right? Gen G has been unbelievably underwhelming since before LCQ, in my opinion.
Yep.
They needed
What happened then, Paul?
They got absolutely rolled.
What coincided with their fall off though?
Oh boy, let's not. The point is, I think that JC Stani and Pure R were two of the best free agents in NA right now. So this is nothing short of an amazing pickup. And if they can't succeed with JC Stani and Pure R, I have no hope for Gen G and Valorant.
Just Pure, by the way. Just Pure.
Pure, sorry, my bad.
No worries.
Yeah, that Pure R.
The R is big. I want to say it.
The R stands for radical. Pure radical.
Oh Lord.
You know, I've seen more ridiculous things from player names.
That's probably true. I'm excited for JC Stani because I've always enjoyed watching him play. So pretty good addition to the Gen G lineup there. Like you said, they've been pretty lackluster for a while, but they've been one of the more up and down teams. I feel like they'll be like, yeah, upward stonks. Oh no, something's going wrong. Hey, we're performing, we're doing well. Oh dear God, what's going on? And it's just continuously up and down like that. So hopefully they can get some stability now with the new roster.
It's interesting as well, right? Because obviously Guimond is theoretically part of the TSM. And Kusta is back in CS maybe. So they've had their cast-offs, right? That was sort of the I mean, Guimond was the old crew, the last of the old crew. Yep. So now this is a fully remade team, and also B, this is the first time that Elma Putty, their coach, has actually had input on roster additions, presumably.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Previously, it was just, the old team rolling through. Right. I think, they added Rhyme. Right, they added Rhyme. That was the difference. Now, this is 3 pieces that have come on since Elmo Putty's big coach. This is the team, right? This is the team that they have built. This is the team that Gen G has built. I think that this is where they need to prove themselves. Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't know what Gen G does next.
And I mean, once upon a time, I remember, 4 or 5 months ago when Rhyme got added to this team, we were like, yeah, cool. IGL, really, really good player. I hope he does well. And then Gen G
I think Nature's still calling for them.
Is Nature still calling?
I think Nature's
I might have
still
remembered
calling
that wrong.
for them.
But Rhyme imported, right? From EMEA? Yeah. We were excited about Rhyme. And he didn't get it. He didn't get a chance to succeed.
Yeah.
So we'll see if this new Gen G maybe does a bit better.
Let's talk about agent changes. Woo!
Hey.
Jett got nerfed.
Yes.
Jett got nerfed. It took so long, but
Finally.
Jeff's been nerfed. All right, so
Jeff?
Jeff.
Damn, shout out to my homie Jeff.
Jeff.
He got
Get rid of
nerfed.
Jeff.
Jeff,
Unlucky
man.
So Jett's dash has been changed in a big way. Basically, instead of just being able to dash at any point, you have to activate a 12-second window ahead of time, and then you're able to dash. So this makes her much more effective as an initiator in terms of like going in and be able to dash back out. But you can't just panic dash if you're opping and you pop a shot and need to duck back around a corner. So
Yeah.
I think this is very exciting. How do we feel about this, Sam?
I feel like 12 seconds is a really long time. Like, okay, they had to keep it balanced, sure. I'm not sure what the sound cue is like. I know that we do have a video as well that kind of just shows what it looks
Mhm.
like. And I'm not entirely sure how loud that sound cue is. But, like, so you could kind of use it as, like, a zoning ability. But again,
Does she
12
give a
seconds
sound
is
sound
so
cue when
long.
she activates?
That's my question.
not sure.
right?
That's a much
That's the
bigger nerf
thing.
if she does.
Also, I'm not sure, like, you can see, like, in her HUD, there's a visual cue. I
Yes,
hope there's not a
yes.
visual cue if you can actually
Nope,
see
there
the-
is. There's
No,
a
there is a
cue.
visual cue. Look at
There
that.
it is. Yeah, you
So
can
now
see it.
when
Yeah.
you see an enemy Jett, you know whether or not they're prepared to dash, which is really interesting,
Yes.
right?
It's subtle though.
It is pretty subtle, and it goes into, if you read the like right after the leak drop, like Play Valorant was like, hey, here's these Jett changes and all our reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
And if you read through their statement, one of the things they mentioned was Jett was the only agent in the game that had an ability that was so instant to activate that changed the game state so much, right? Like with Chamber, you have to go and set up the teleports. With,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
a lot of these other agents that control space, like Astra, right? You have to put the stars down. With Omen, you have to get into the, you know, whatever it's called, his mind state, and like deploy the dark code, right? Like all these other agents, most of the deploy time on 90% of abilities has like an actual like two-step process to it. And Jett having just that instant click a button no matter when I want, wherever I want, to do whatever I want,
Yeah.
was one of the overarching reasons that she was so overtuned. She's still going to be great for entry. I mean, she can't op now, though. Well, she can't op any more than any other agent in the game can op,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I feel like she can take fewer crazy aggressive angles. Like you're not going to see her pushing out A main or B main on split, right?
Sure.
And then dashing back into cover. But she can still hold an angle towards the back of the site, and then potentially, like if someone on her team gives information, hey, they're pushing, then
For
she
sure.
can activate the dash, peek out, get a shot, and dash away. So she can still be effective, but she can't be as aggressive. She can't be as brain dead. That
Yeah.
get out of jail free card of like, oh, I've been spotted. No, I haven't.
You can't just
um,
stand wherever you want and not die.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I think it accomplishes the objective, which is they want to make
Yeah.
her utility usage more intentional, and make it so that you think about it and then do it, as opposed to just being like, eat button.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeet.
She has to use it off information that she has. Like the place I'm really interested to see is somewhere like when I think of like an op battle, I think of like Haven A long, right? Like
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
there's room for a Jett to maybe sit behind the cinder block in A long and like hold a really tight angle with the operator, and then potentially re-peek with the op, or you know, if they take a shot, they can dash, or they can not dash, they can have it not activated and just hide behind the cinder block, then turn the dash on and get out of dodge, right? So I think there are
Mhm.
places where Jett op is still going to be viable, but you're not just going to
yeah.
bring Jett to have a character who can op everywhere.
And now for the callback to my tweet announcing this, Chamber OP, Chamber OP.
Yeah, that's my question. That's my biggest problem with this Jett nerf, is not actually like the Jett nerf, because that makes sense. But Chamber was already rising monumentally in playtime.
Yes.
You're just, if you want to have an op, you're bringing Chamber now. Like 9 times out of 9. Right? Like there's just no reason. There's no maps where Chamber is bad. There are maps where, you know, maybe Killjoy offers you a little bit something different, and teams were trying her. There are ops where Cypher there are maps where Cypher offers you something different, right? Like with the trap wires and the camera, and maybe you were bringing him for a niche strategy. But like now you just bring Chamber because you need somebody who's opping.
But I mean, I saw some experimentation where you just don't bring Jett. And so you'll have double sentinel, but you're playing Chamber as your duelist, quote unquote.
And then,
Um,
I think you're right. I think we will see that, and then it just gets weird with like your attacking side and entry and
But I
shit.
think teams will still be playing Jett. I don't think that this has put her in an unplayable position. Because, I mean, when you think about the fact that they brought out both Chamber and Neon to try to contest with Jett and how much she gets picked, and still she was basically on top. Okay, yes, we're seeing a huge resurgence for Chamber here, but it hasn't been where they want it to be. So now they finally nerfing the Tailwind, which I think players have been asking for like over a year. So I think that this just puts all of them in a decent spot. I would like to see, you know how it actually says there's a slight delay. So you activate the Tailwind, and then there's a slight delay, which is like 0.5 seconds or something.
It's pretty quick.
And I'd like to see something similar with Chamber, because as much as you have to set it up, it's very much like if you're on defense, for example, and you've pre-set that up before the round begins, and then somebody peeks you, you still have, it's just that quick click, and then you're, get out of jail free. So I think that something similar might just help there. But overall, I mean, I don't think that Jett's nerfed into the ground. I think she'll just become situational like every other agent.
So you want a delay between pressing the teleport button and actually teleporting, or you want a delay between when you place the card and when you can teleport?
No, the actual teleporting.
So,
there's a tiny delay when he snaps his fingers.
There's enough of a delay to where he can get shot mid-animation pretty consistently.
Yeah.
I don't see it often enough.
I mean, at the pro level, it's less, right?
Yeah.
But you watch people streaming. I can't count the amount of times that I've seen somebody streaming on Chamber and they're mid TP and they're like, "What? I died." I know it happens to me all the time. I'm bad though. Don't balance the game based off what happens to me.
Yeah. That's always the struggle for a game dev is balancing between pros and Joes. It is the true balancing act. Let's talk about the other agent news that we've got coming through here. Fade has been revealed. We're going to get more details, I think, during the grand final will be the actual agent reveal video. But we've got an image of Fade right now. And my question is Fade going to have the ridiculously OP kit that we saw leaked a couple weeks ago?
I think it's possible because one of the I don't think we had it prepared. I should have thrown you the notes, Cody. Sorry. But there was the screenshot we had of the abilities, right? And one of the logos lined up with official art that came alongside this release, like for the Prowler or whatever it was, right? Her 1/3 of a Skyle that she gets as one of her abilities. The art matched with official art. So I think at the very least, she's gonna have a very similar kit. Maybe the tuning will be different. Maybe that was an old alpha version that we saw in the leak. Who knows? But I think that leak is looking pretty solid at this point.
Hopefully it has been tuned, because some of those looked a little busted.
It looked a little egregious.
But I will say that we say that about a lot of agents that come out. I remember everybody lost their goddamn minds when the Killjoy abilities were shown. They were like, the lockdown, it shuts down half of the map. How are we gonna? And it actually wasn't that bad at all. It was actually just fine. I have a lot of faith in Riot and their balancing. So, what's scary?
Change is scary, especially pro players. Pro players always hate change. That is always.
Have you seen the reactions to the Jett change?
Yeah, well, because it potentially has something to do with their cheddar. Pro players always hate change. But no, I mean, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting what the release is. I'm also curious to see if Riot, if it's these skills, right? If it's Prowler, Siege, Haunt, Nightfall, if there have been changes since the leaked version.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they saw the response to the leak and they were like, maybe we should change the numbers on these.
Especially since... just real quick, especially since in the the Jett release, right? Their announcement there, wasn't there something about hey, we're taking a look at Sova next? Sova's also getting nerfed a bit. There's a lot of leaks right now where it's hey, if you play Sova, get ready for him to be nerfed into the damn ground.
Fingers crossed.
So for them to introduce Fade, potentially her be a very strong information gatherer, and also nerf Sova at the same time, that's quite a bit going on there in theory.
That's Riot saying, buy the new character. Buy the new character.
I mean, this is what Riot has always done, right? Yeah. If you look at League of Legends, Aphelios, the big meme when he dropped, right? 200 years of game dev experience.
Then they'll nerf.
He still made the most OP piece of shit ever.
Then they'll nerf.
So, two quick things.
Okay.
First one, you guys seen that meme that went out with the yearbook pictures, and it's Reyna and then cooler Reyna?
Yes.
With the picture of Fade?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Second thing, slightly off topic, but we don't have it in our rundown, so I figured I'll just bring it up quickly. NYXL have actually announced their team. They did this 26 minutes ago, so thank you for doing that as we go live, as per usual. Odorous, your boy Dre, Shot Up, Neptune, and Jason.
Neptune was an unexpected one.
I
like that, though.
I don't even know who that is.
Neptune?
The Rise player?
Neptune, the Rise player. He was on Rise Nation. Yeah, really good raise, in my opinion.
Okay,
I think Neptune actually has one of the best raises in NA, in my opinion. I mean, this is a lineup that could actually make some dents, but is this also the lineup they've been playing with? Because
I don't know. I
swear that they just played some tournament. What was it, the weekly this week? And got, like, McClapped?
Maybe.
This is the lineup they just played yesterday in the NSG weekly. And Knights Academy kind of handed them their rears. It wasn't that bad, actually. Looking at it, is 13-7 split, which is a little rough. And then it was an overtime loss on Breeze. But they lost to Knights Academy, which, I mean, I have a lot of respect for a lot of the players on Knights Academy, but as a team from a relatively big org, you don't want to be losing to another org's B team.
I mean, literally what I was about to say about this roster, that's a solid tier 2 roster. That's literally what I think. I mean, they've got some really good players, and I think that they're going to take the tier 2 world by storm. But I don't think they measure up to the optics and the gods of the scene.
Well, sure.
You know?
Yeah.
That's very tier 2. Hey, good job, Cody. Proud of you.
I think
Nice
light mode?
I like light mode. I like light mode.
Heathens.
Of course you do.
Heathens.
God.
Cheers, Cody, for light mode. You all just live in your goblin caves and need it to be dark so you don't burn your retinas. Let the sunlight.
Well, I have blackout on my only window in my room. Blackout shades.
I have 2 lights in my eyes right now. Okay,
Let
it
the
is
sunlight
very
in.
bright in here.
I think this roster's interesting, right? First off, I'm really happy to see Odorous get another chance with a new organization. I think that flash in the pan with Kansas City Pioneers was so exciting, and then all of the follow up was so disappointing immediately that like. I need to see it again. You know, I want to see him.
All these players are, right?
Flash in the pan.
Yeah,
Shot Up was a flash in the pan with
Shot
Immortals.
Up,
That was
Neptune,
a longer one. That was a longer one though. And
I mean, your boy Dre has even subbed into like some top, like, you know, it's been a while since we saw your boy Dre on a big team. But like early in Valorant, he was doing really good. Like this is kind of just a team of
Luminosity, right?
Yeah,
for a long time.
Yeah. You know, that's what I'm saying. You know, these are all players who have like been on very good teams, but haven't really stayed toward the top. So I'm interested to see how they all line up together.
It's an interesting one. Yeah, we'll see how this gels. We got to keep moving on because, as always, we spend way too much time on the run it back segment. Moving on.
Spend 15 minutes on one thing this time.
Let's talk about Masters. Let's talk about Masters. Holy crap! Masters has been exciting. I think this one. So I know some people, you know, get upset when certain teams get knocked out because they're like, "But our viewership." But I think it's dope that Loud, Paper Rex, and Zeta Division are rocking out. Right? Paper Rex is the only one that had been to an international event before this, right? And you got the Paper Rex jersey.
So Zeta Division had a lot of the Absolute Jupiter players, and Loud had a lot of like good Brazilian players as well that had been to tournaments. Loud as a roster, as 5 together, I'm pretty sure this is their first time.
Yeah.
But like they've gotten some experience, and it's really cool to see them succeed. I think if nothing else, Iceland, this Masters has proved we need to like just get rid of the term minor region. Like, just get it out of our vocabulary.
At this point, definitely.
It's just low population regions versus high population regions. Like, that's all it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in
Valorant. I think Valorant at this point is the most global game that I've seen, where like the competition has been very close amongst all of the regions. In other games, you call it the smaller region because they don't tend to show up in the same way. But these guys are proving that they can do that. I feel like Crew started a revolution. Like they showed up at champs and everyone was like, hold on a second, we can do that too. And I mean, they've just been performing out of their minds. I'm particularly happy about Paper X. I was on the Paper X hype chain from way back. And it's really nice to see them doing well. I mean, they were one of the teams that I'd kind of spotted out as one of the teams with a lot of pressure on their shoulders because of how exceptionally. They bombed out the last time they were on LAN. So yeah, just really good to see them show up.
I think one thing that's really interesting when you're talking about like minor regions and expectations, everyone had the expectations of like CS and League of Legends for how the regions would shake out, it feels like.
Yeah.
And really, it feels like this is Siege. It's Rainbow Six Siege, right? Brazilians playing real well. A Japanese team showing up. I feel like the Japanese
Let's go,
I don't know
Zeta.
Siege that well, but I recall Japanese teams being like solid in Siege. I don't know. I think this is kind of hype.
Yeah, I think it's super dope. And it's super I mean we have to talk about Zeta Division, right?
Talk about Zeta Division.
They're like it's such a heartwarming story. And I am so glad I was egregiously wrong about Zeta, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, you know, I if you remember like 2 weeks ago when we were prepping for our Masters and we did our show beforehand, I was like, yeah, Zeta, they've got some really good players, but I don't know. I just haven't seen anything tactically in their region to where I think that they could make a dent. And admittedly, that's how it started, right? When, you know, you look at their early group stage runs, you look at their game against G2, and yeah, they're crazy. They were really good individual players, but they flubbed out in some of those, in like their 2 losses thus far, right? But they have to be the most improved team of any team that has ever showed up to a Valorant International. Yeah. They take every single loss and they learn monumentally. And it's not like other times where it's like, oh, everyone shows up to an international event and a team we think is going to be really good has the wrong read on a meta. So then they just change their comps and they look better. Zeta has stuck to their guns, man. They're playing AV Control, Astra Viper, despite the nerfs, and they're making it look so damn good. It is so cool to see Zeta succeed and like still have their own style doing so.
Dude, the double sentinel no initiator on Ascent, I had so many question marks about that. And to be fair, they didn't win, but they took it to 13-10 on DRX's map pick. I mean, that is fucking ridiculous. The difference, the flip over from their group game against DRX, where they're like, I don't think they made it past 3 points on those 2 maps. It was like 13-2, 13-3. And then they come through for the revenge run here in playoffs, and they actually managed to smack them around a little bit. I mean, Split was like a 13-3, which was so unexpected. I'm blown away.
I think there's a little asterisk with Split, like just the degree of the score line, right? Because it's a rumor, I don't know how true it is, but one of the things going around is that the DRX players were kind of boomed going into that map.
Mean, makes sense.
But you know, still, like, even if they were boomed going into that map, the other 2 maps were really close. And really I think that Zeta Division were playing really well. So even if you can put like a little hiccup on the one map for DRX, because I don't think that map was DRX playing to their potential, even if DRX was playing at their peak, it would have been a close map at the very least, right? So Zeta Division, they've earned their top 4 spot, and it's so cool.
I think we should talk about the disappointments, though.
Yeah. Oh, no, we're getting there. Let's talk about EMEA, Sam.
Yeah, that's. I was gonna start with the EMEA because, like, and I don't want to say disappointment is in like, well, now we hate them, but there was a lot of hopium for some of these teams, particularly Fnatic, Liquid, the Guard. There was a lot of hope there. There was a lot of like fan favorites really wanting them to succeed. And then you got to look at the qualifiers, right? The asterisks. Fnatic have to play with 2 subs. Yeah. Yikes. Did not win a map. Just got absolutely booted off the planet. You look at the Guard. Very, very first international event. Didn't play in the group stages, so they didn't have that lead up. They jumped straight into playoffs and get booted. I mean, it's rough to try and come into your first event and succeed. There was just so much pressure on these teams, and most of them had qualifiers. It was sad to see that they didn't make it through, but yeah, it is what it is.
So what's G2's excuse? What's G2's
they
excuse,
threw,
Sam?
Man. I'm sorry.
What's
they threw. God.
You're a resident EMEA lover. Defend them.
Look at him. I'm not going to defend them. They threw. They sucked. I don't know what they were doing on those days, but they just did not show up. Man, I'm so disappointed.
That series versus Loud. Man, they grafted extra limbs onto their body to throw that first map, dude. It was egregious. how G2 threw that first map, and even Breeze, where it was
Mhm.
closer, right? I still think G2 played really badly. A lot of the rounds that they got on Breeze were Loud being a little bit silly. Like there were rounds where Sassy was just like swinging through Viper walls for no reason. And like those are the round that G2 were winning, and they were still throwing a lot. I want to zone in on the Ascent specifically, if I can have a few minutes here, because I've pulled up. Ascent was the most egregious map I have not. Okay, that's not true. One of the most egregious maps I've ever seen a pro team play, especially at an international event. One of the worst maps I've ever. Like, we load into the map. Their composition is Jett, Omen, Sova, which makes sense, and then Sage, Cypher, and you think, okay. Sure.
On Ascent?
On Ascent. A little weird, right?
Oh
a little weird, but you think to yourself, all right, Loud play like a super aggressive style. If you get the trap wires in tricky setups, if you use those slow orbs and like maybe some trap plays with the paranoia and the recon dart, you could disrupt a lot of these hits and like pull Loud out of their comfort zone. No, they didn't even try that, man. They're doing TikTok walls in mid every round with Hoodie trying to find Loud at top mid. Loud never once went top mid. They're 10 rounds into their defense, still looking for a pick top mid, putting Mixwell on the TikTok wall, man. What's going on? Why is Hoodie in mid every round? Why? I didn't see a single slow orb. There were 2 rounds where a Trapwire got something, and they never moved Meadow from the B site. I have no idea what this plan was from G2, dude. I have no idea what they thought they were accomplishing.
Best rant on the show ever.
It was so upset. G2, by the way, that map was a 9 or it was a 13-5. G2 got first blood 9 rounds. 9 rounds they got first blood. And you know what the funny part is? They only won 3 of those. They lost 6 rounds.
That's terrifying.
Out of 6, what, 18 that they played, in which they got first blood. It's egregious. It is egregious, the play we saw from them on Ascent.
Yeah. Credits to Loud, though. Go ahead.
Just to kind of like
real quick.
Go on.
I just have to like cushion this a little bit, right? Because I one of the reasons I'm so hard on G2 is I had high expectations for them coming into this event. I thought they had a lot of things going.
Summer child.
Yeah, I don't know why I believed in G2, but I thought like Mixwell pivoting onto the chamber was really good for this team. I was somewhat excited, right? I had them going somewhat far in the lower bracket, and for them to just throw with 8 limbs, it was hard to watch.
Where's the cushion?
Yeah, there's supposed to be cushion.
Like,
the cushion was. I think they should be good.
Yeah, that's not cushion. That's not cushion.
That's not
they
cushion.
even failed my expectations by further.
That's
the
making
cushion
it
is
way
saying
worse, man.
Loud is playing real well. Loud, the
That's
EMEA
true.
killers take out Liquid,
That's
take
it.
out
I think
Defuse,
Loud had been playing really well.
roll through
Yeah.
EMEA as a region.
I think Loud had been playing really well. And if you look at that map, I mean, that's, fair enough. That's actually a way better cushion, because if you look at that map, Loud, their flood protocols for executes especially are just, I don't know how to beat those, man. I think you should have tried not what G2 tried, but Loud do look really, really, really good. They at least when they don't get contested in their style, they look really good. And that's like my one asterisk, is because there was that one map versus TL where Loud came in and they just got annihilated because they couldn't do what they wanted to. But is that because TL found the one thing that for a moment caught Loud off guard and now Loud have made the adjustment, or is that the only map where Loud have been challenged? It's hard to say.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll get a better picture of it in the Optic matchup, presumably, since they've all had lots of time to do homework on each other. That's what's going to be really interesting about these first round matchups between Loud, Optic, and Zeta Paperex, is that because you've had this break, the teams have presumably just been anti-stratting the shit out of each other. So then the question is, how much do they preemptively train to avoid getting anti-stratted by the other team? It's going to be an interesting mind game. I think it makes it very exciting to have that break between the sides with, so few games standing between them and the grand final, right? If you win that upper final, you're top 2, baby. You're top 2, guaranteed. It's nuts. Some other things to touch on. I do want to touch on the guard because I didn't want to grab onto it when you said I was bringing it up because it was time to pile on EMEA first. But now I will do my sad bit about the guard. Condolences to the guard. But hey, they made playoffs in their first international event, right? Hey!
Yay!
How many times can we make that joke?
This format is dumb. I'll reiterate that again. No one should go straight through to playoffs based on qualification. It doesn't work with your calendar, Riot. Just expand the group stage. That being said, there's also the young players figuring out how LAN works, right? Trent couldn't listen to music. Probably should have expected that. Time to figure out use the twists trick, chew gum. Go for something else to distract yourself. Get a fidget spinner. I don't know what you need. But, those kind of things happen. It is a different environment when you play on LAN. And the only player who had real, stage competition experience on that team was Saya. Everyone else, this is kind of a new level for them.
And even for Saya, he had stage competition experience, but not a lot of going somewhere and traveling for that, because right as the Overwatch League was starting to do that, this little thing called COVID-19 showed up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All the games used to be played in that one studio.
It was in the one studio in LA for the most part, right? So only a little bit of actual traveling to play experience. And I really think that the roughest part looking at this format for me, when considering the guard and what we've seen from them before, right? When they've lost and how when they've been given time after a loss, they've been able to adjust and pivot and prep really well so that they look better next time. They got clapped by Optic, who I think are the best form we've seen from Optic maybe ever. And then they had to go up against a Paper X squad with a lot of heat, and they had less than a day of turnaround. And I mean, to be fair, Paper X also had less of a day of a turnaround. So it was still a deserved win from Paper Rex, but I think I think that this format did play against the guard pretty intensely. And I mean, on one hand, that's a lesson for the guard players. Sometimes the format ain't gonna work, and you gotta win regardless, right?
Yeah. Here's one other thing. Very important message to Riot. Whoever's doing your damn bracket draws, please stop putting NA against NA in round 1 of the playoffs. I don't even care if they would get knocked down regardless, right? That's fine. But it's fucking dumb to have. We sent out 2 teams internationally. Only 2 representatives. One of them's gonna knock the other one down first round. Come on.
It's so weird too, because in Riot's in League of Legends at Worlds, when they do the bracket draw for playoffs at Worlds, you can't play a team from your own region in the first round.
Which is how
that's a rule that they have.
Yeah.
We see enough Optic do that the guard games. I don't need to see another one in Iceland. So weird. It's not interesting. It's just stupid. Let them.
Honestly, in my opinion, I feel like you should try and have them not actually meet each other or not be able to meet each other until the upper final. So you have NA in one of the first 2 and then NA in one of the second 2. And even if they don't wind up meeting each other, at least you're getting more variety in your games. You see them play each other in their own region all the goddamn time.
Sure.
We want to see how do they stack up internationally.
Yeah. I mean, that would literally be the difference if you swap them with one of the, because Optic came through as the 2 seed in another group, right? So if you swap them with the 2 seed of a different group, boom, you're fine.
Imagine if Guard's first game, if Guard and G2 swapped.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Literally, there's no reason that couldn't have happened. They were both 1 seeds, right?
Yeah.
Guard get to clap Zeta, Zeta Division when Zeta Division weren't on their evolved form that we've been seeing from them in the lower bracket.
Or maybe they get knocked by Zeta Division.
Or maybe they get knocked by Zeta, and then we learned that, right?
That they play someone they haven't been playing for the last 3 months.
Yeah, either way. And we can what if this forever, but the point is, there were issues. There were issues with the format.
It's just next time, because they did this at it wasn't Champs, it was the previous Masters, right? Where they did this again, because we didn't get 2 NA teams into Champs playoffs, so don't worry about that. But this keeps happening. It doesn't need to happen. It don't gotta be like this. It don't gotta be like this, right? It's just more interesting games.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's my mini rant about that.
We all get one today.
We all get one.
Sam, I think you still got yours in the tank. Okay, you'll save yours for a later show.
So the other disappointment though is DRX, right? I think
Yes.
I think it's still a solid result, but this has to be a disappointing result for DRX, considering the fact that they are constantly posturing to be the absolute powerhouse of the whole Asian region, and they haven't been yet.
Yeah, I think DRX. It's the fashion. I think the roughest thing for DRX is the fashion of that last map, right? Because that last map is going to be remembered. It was pretty rough. But also, like, you look at it objectively, and DRX as a team, because this is the old Vision Strikers team. Every international tournament, like people come in and they start hyping up DRX, and DRX has like a middling or worse performance. But the fact of the matter is, DRX is making it every time, and they're playing close games against like Paper Rex and Optic, right? So I think DRX maybe get overinflated by the narrative a little bit, and that makes us think they're doing worse than they are. Like, the only losses they had were 2-1s against teams that ended up being really good and making the top 4, right? Like, it's it's not like they like flubbed out in the group stage or something crazy,
Yeah.
I think that this is a good time for me to just dive into the DRX Zeta match, the rematch, which I thought was an insane turnaround from Zeta, but there were some serious flaws in DRX's approach. I mean, I take a look at Icebox, for example, which was the first map, and like DRX's attack was super one-dimensional. Round after round, they just full send onto one of the two sites. And Zeta are playing such an extreme util space denial play. So like you'll see things like a snake bite and a shock dart come out onto default when someone's moving in, and immediately that player is gone, dead, off the face of the earth. And they continue doing that. They combine their utility to deny a ton of space. So when you have the entire team full sending towards one site, it's not going to work. One of the best rounds that they had on attack, and it was by no means clean, but was when they sent one of their players up through kitchen to create like a wrap as they started moving over towards the B site. And they do wind up winning that round. And okay, it was a bit messy, but it was one of the better ones because they actually managed to take Zeta off guard. For the rest of it, they just spent round after round being incredibly telegraphed. And I don't know if they thought, oh, well, we smacked them in playoffs. How much better could they be now? And if they did, that was dumb. Because there was no adaptation. Because when we move on to Ascent, adaptation was the name of the game there. Zeta were actually doing really well. Yes, okay, it is somewhat DRX's playground. It's their map pick. It's the one that they perform on consistently, event after event. But for Zeta to have pushed them to a 13-10 is actually incredibly impressive. And Zeta did so well. I mean, they start out really badly. They're really late to react to a lot of the rotations. They're starting off on the defensive half, and DRX, they're actually defaulting. Why they didn't do this on Icebox, I will never understand. But they're actually defaulting on Ascent. And they start moving. And for some reason, Zeta are just so slow to react, and they're consistently getting caught out, which is why they lose a lot of those rounds on the defensive half. But eventually, they adapt. They start figuring things out, and they start doing similar to what they had on Icebox, where they'll send someone on like a really cool flank. They'll start closing off any kind of ways to exit from site once DRX have committed. And at that point, it's either win or lose at that point, right? Either DRX are going to move in onto the site and you're going to clean them up, or maybe they're going to turn around and they're going to take out your flank as they move towards another site. And at that point, they've basically won the round for themselves. But Zeta have done really well there to consistently shut it down. So that adaptation was something I wanted to see a lot more of out of DRX. And then last map, like you said, they were probably boomed. And the reason that I think that is likely is that Split is a map that they have a 70% win rate on, and it looked like they had never played that map in their lives. I'm sorry, like, I know that that's harsh, but I think a lot of that is the mental game. Like, at that point, they're not thinking strategically, they're not talking, they're not, coming up with plans and whatever. It's just consistently running into a wall because you cannot think further than how depressed you are, which is sad.
Sure.
It's really, really sad because given how close those first two maps were, I think that last one could have been an absolute banger, but unfortunately, they just kind of gave up.
Sometimes you get in your head.
And I think to me that just echoes the weight that DRX has to carry on their shoulders every time they come to an international event, right? All these people hyping up, oh, is this the time that DRX finally does amazing in an international event and Korea gets really into the region and starts doing amazingly like they do in every esport they get invested in, and then like the weight of the world just weighs on their shoulders like brimstone in the Champions cinematic.
Yeah, but that's on their coaching staff to deal with and contend with, right?
You're not wrong.
If your players aren't able to mentally stay in a 3-map series, that's part of it. That's part of it, right? Like that's always going to happen at LAN. That's always going to happen in these kind of things. That's having that champions mentality is being able to take a tough loss and gut it through and bring it back, right? So that's part of the game. That's part of the game. Pressure. There's pressure for all of these teams, right?
That's very true.
Any of the teams that make it through know that they're carrying the hopes of their region, that they've got pressure.
But on the flip side of that, right? You have teams like Zeta who now have done way better than anyone ever expected them to do. They just got that. What's Plat Chat call it? The joyous whimsy, right? They can do whatever they want.
Paul plugging other podcasts on our podcast.
Hey, get a variety of sources, but come here every Wednesday.
There you go.
That's what matters.
But
Zeta Division, if they get blasted by Paper X, everyone will still remember that this was a great tournament for Zeta Division.
Nah, we love an underdog. We love an underdog, and there's definitely less pressure on you when you're the underdog. But still, like now, next time they come around, suddenly there will be more pressure on them.
There will be
pressure.
Of the
business.
Exactly.
That's the nature of the business. You build up the expectations. Let's talk about this top 4, though. Unless anything else we want to talk about Masters so far, should we make our projections?
No, I think we go predictions.
All right, we're going with our projections here. Top 4, Optic, Loud in the upper, Paper X, Zeta in the lower. We've all done a pick 'em. Let's roll the pick 'ems. Who's we got first up, Cody? Who's first up? Who we got?
Of course, it's Mike's paint shenanigan.
My beauty. I went really boring with this one, to be quite frank. I part of me wants to pick against Optic here. Genuinely, I just can't do it, man. I just can't do it. I can't pick really against NA. Loud, I think, has a very good chance of taking instead of Optic. But this is where I'm at, and I'm on the Zeta Division Hopium as well.
It's hard.
Paper X.
It's hard not to put Optic in first right now. I think that Optic have, like, pound for pound, I think they have like a lot of firepower on their roster, and they also have like really cool comps that nobody else at this tournament is running, right? So it's hard to beat them.
Yep.
Dope. That's my
Join
take.
us every week for more of Mike's paint bullshit.
It's beautiful. The fans love it. The people love
Mine's
it.
not
I
much
give the
better.
people what they want, which is my glorious artistry. Let's move on to the next one, though. You've all seen my artistry. I'll gloat when I'm right. Do you have Paper Rex winning the whole thing?
Dude, I am on the Hopium.
Is
like
it just because
you
you're
would
wearing
not
the jersey?
believe. Jersey! I would just like to point out,
Fan
so the
behavior.
jerseys are now sold out, and it's like everybody from like this Masters that are like, oh my god, Paper X, I need to buy a jersey. Okay, I was on the Paper X hype train for months, all right? I got this so long ago, you would not even believe. I'm a true fan, so I'm really excited. I'm on some serious Hopium here. So I see Optic taking out Loud down in the lower division. I got Paper X going all the way, baby. Let's get it. Fingers
Damn.
crossed.
That's cap.
Yeah, I don't believe this is happening.
I think there is a legitimate argument that Paper Rex could make the final.
The grand final?
Sure.
Oh yeah, there's
I think-
definitely a universe where they make grand final.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I think any one of these teams in the top 4 technically could win it. Do I think that there is higher percentage for other teams? Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
But
let's see what your
nobody's
percentage is.
nobody's sitting at a 0, right?
Pull up his. Let's talk about his.
I actually
Oh,
need
you
to
didn't
make an
crop.
edit. So first off, I didn't because I was running late. And I need to make an edit to mine. Because I was thinking
dear.
about this.
He's
I was
running it back.
I do. I need to make an adjustment.
Okay.
So I still have Optic winning in the upper final.
Okay.
I still have Zeta Division beating Paper Rex, although
Okay.
I think that game is going to be close.
But you think
I think
Zeta's being loud?
I think Zeta's going to beat Loud.
And then
I think
who? So
Zeta's
then
gonna
I
be
assume
loud.
you think that Optic
Because
is winning,
I
then.
was Sam, this is actually a last minute adjustment because Sam, you were talking about Icebox versus DRX.
Yeah.
And how good Zeta's counter-stratting was.
Yup.
Right? They shut down those executes so effectively. And that's the one thing Loud wants to do, is run at a site and overwhelm you with util and get the spike down and then play post-plant. But if Zeta have good counter strats for that, Loud's going to get blasted like they did on that one map against Team Liquid. So I think if Zeta beat Paper Rex, I think they make the final. I think Optic beat them. But I think they make the final.
Someone in chat just said they won a third place match, but lower final is a third place match.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
little
lower
bit
final
different.
I don't know what that would mean. I don't know what a third place match would mean in this example. But yeah, no, all right. Glad you're also on the NA Hopium. I can't wait to see how Optic lets us down.
And there is a good someone else in chat, Big Brian, which is a great name.
It's a good name.
Says Loud has only played 2 games at Masters, which is a good point. I think it's I'm not. I want to be convinced by Loud. You know, because I want to see Brazil finally at like the form that we saw once upon a time, or not once upon a time, the form that everyone keeps saying they can get to because we see them in other esports get to.
Yeah.
Right. But I think that thus far there has been very little resistance to Loud in the 2 games that they had, outside of that one map where they just kind of looked lost against Team Liquid. But everyone has maps where they look lost once in a while. So I'm not holding that too much against them. I want to see how the Optic game goes. I think if the Optic game is really close, I don't care if Loud loses in the 3rd place match. I'm still going to say they're a really good team.
So basically
Loud
the question...
began...
Oh, go ahead, Sam.
Go on. Okay. Loud began the systematic dismantling of EMEA, and therefore I cannot support them. And I hope that they all crash and burn.
Oh, I was going to say, you should be rooting for them to win the whole damn thing. Because
yeah, exactly.
Either we're going to learn one of two things.
If
If Loud stink the bed up against Optic, then the conclusion is just EMEA sucks. Right?
Is that our conclusion?
Yeah, if they don't beat anyone
If
else
FPX
except the
not
EMEA
here?
region, the conclusion is...
Listen, if FPX were here, right,
Well, guess what? FPX probably isn't
They're
attending
not.
anything for a while, unfortunately.
Yeah,
so that's going to be...
Unless they change their roster.
That's going to be a
And
real
then
shame.
then it's not the
What if?
FPX we wanted to see anyways.
Yeah, no, it's going to stink. It is going to stink. I'm glad that Fi is on this cast, apparently, from the chat. Casting it from the chat. Thanks, Mubot.
Shout out.
Which one of us is Fi?
Thanks, Mubot. I'll leave that up to chat to decide. And by chat, I mean, I guess Fi.
Look, I got dibs on being ravishing. Ravish is great.
I'm hosting, so we're fine. I'm my own
Perfect.
person.
Anyways,
but I do think that right, like let's talk about the implications for EMEA, because obviously there's a massive asterisk on this. You can't send the top qualified team. FPX can't attend, and then Fnatic's playing with 2 subs. Huge qualifiers. Liquid wasn't meant to be here. They still make playoffs. That's cool for them, but like they weren't meant to be here. They didn't qualify in the first place. G2, you got to sort your shit out yourselves. That's
there's literally no qualifier for them. They
had no
credit where it's due. I think Liquid looked better at Masters than they did in their own they're
animals.
Playoffs, right?
They're animals.
So like we still know that Liquid is like a good team of 5 players, right? Like I'm never gonna doubt the talent on that roster from those 5 players.
Yeah.
It's just Valorant keeps progressing. Everyone keeps getting better.
It just sucks so much what's happening with FPX, but the thing is, like, there's no obvious easy solution to that in sight, so we kind of just have to accept that as the reality. The same thing's happening in CS right now, where the CIS teams that were absolute powerhouses last year are falling off, and it's not their fault. It's like it's just one of the many terrible fallouts of the geopolitical situation, the invasion of Ukraine. So
hold up. Who's the clown in chat saying I'm sleeping on paper? Bro,
yeah, you missed.
What do you mean?
You missed.
You must have missed.
Marcus, you missed.
Bracket.
Sam has Paper X winning the whole thing. You missed.
All right, I found my rant.
You missed the Paper X fandom bit. We can't let Sam get away with this though. So anyways, moving on.
I don't think it's unreasonable to say that Paper X can run through and make it to the final either. I think that, like I said, I think there's like, if I had to break it down in percentages off the top of my head,
okay,
I think there's like a 50-50 chance that Optic wins, right?
I thought
like
this was
50% Optic wins, right? I think it's like a third, like a 25 or a 30 that Loud wins, and then like split the rest between Zeta and Paper X.
Did you know that 98% of statistics are made up?
Yeah, I was gonna
That
say. I
one,
expected
well,
you to
that
be
one
like,
is 100% made
I
up.
expected you to be like,
That one I made up off the top of my head.
It is a 53.25% chance of an optic win, and Paper Rex is pulling in a 7.3% margin. And all right. Anyway, we'll move on here. We'll wrap up our show. We're past our hour. We got one more thing to talk about. The NSG Philly LAN happened. That's cool. Xset won
Hell
it.
yeah.
Good job, Xset. That was an in-person LAN, 10K. Always nice to see.
Wasn't gonna win that.
Sorry, what was that?
Did anyone think Xset wasn't gonna win that?
Well, that's the thing, right? When a team like that attends an event like that, they need to dominate. They did drop a map to Cloud9 Academy in groups, though. Right? So it wasn't just a complete stomping.
Well, and that last map was pretty close too.
Yeah,
I think it ends up saying more about the C9 Academy rework actually than it does Xset. Honestly,
Yeah.
I think the C9 Academy rework has actually been looking really good. Those players have really stepped up. I have talked to the coach a very tiny amount. I've heard good things about their coach. So I'm liking the C9 Academy rework, but Xset, winning Xset things, they should win this.
Yeah.
As expected.
Urcast back on top. Mongolian old CS players on top. Here we go. Hell yeah.
Oh no, one map. Whoa, dude.
Dude, I'm on his page. Like, oh, dude.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Was it even a map that Xset play that often? What map did they lose? They lost Breeze, which they then won later.
Oof.
So
Okay, well.
It's fine. It's fine.
Redemption
I'm saying this is a good showing for Xset. But it's just sort of like, this is the expectation for Xset. Anything other than this would have been catastrophic,
absolutely.
right? If you go in as a team that's making the top runs at VCT and you don't shit all over everyone, like that is concerning.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
And now, if you think, oh, hey, there was a 10K LAN in Philadelphia, that's pretty hype. There may be a 10K LAN near you.
Ooh.
These are all of the NSG LANs that are coming soon. You can see the dates for them. We got North Brunswick. We got Brentwood. We got Georgetown. We got Denver. We got Bakersfield. We got Fullerton. So check them out. There's LANs.
I'm so sad.
They're happening.
There's
another Philly one.
pocket regionally between a bunch of different lands where they're all like 10 hours from me.
Yeah, how long is your drive
Imagine
to
how
Cali?
I feel.
My drive to Cali is like not that long, but my drive to Fullerton is much longer.
What about Bakersfield?
I don't think that's any shorter.
I'm about 2 flights that culminate in a 24-hour travel time away.
Sam, get swimming.
Hey, fair enough.
Get swimming,
God.
come attend some lands. But anyway, check out the lands. Check out the
Absolutely.
lands. It's just everything's better on land. You get to meet people. You could see your favorite team. I mean, Xset could be there, right, kicking your butt in groups. So sign up either as a
Yay.
competitor, come sign up as a team, or just attend as a spectator and go check out the action. It's really cool. And as we're coming out of the closed down life, it's awesome that we got this kind of land schedule up ahead all across the country. So check them out. Yeah, I think that's all we got today.
Yeah.
That wraps up our show. We actually wrapped up in a reasonable length of time. I'm proud of us.
Wait,
Golf
now we
clap
got to
for
fill
us.
like 20 minutes.
Golf clap
No,
for
no,
us.
God.
We can't end on time, guys.
And in conclusion, I'm just gonna say Paul's horny for Fade. So is Cody. And we're gonna wrap up the show here. You guys were losing it in group chat in the chat when that got announced.
Down bad.
So I've
There's no
figured out.
evidence
All
of
right,
that.
here's
There's
my
no
theory. I figured out why Valorant Twitter is so ridiculously horny. It's the Overwatch people. You've infected. Overwatch used to be
That's a
so
lie.
ridiculously horny
Dude,
for the
that is a
agents.
straight up lie.
Oh, the Overwatch
Used to
community
be.
is so horny.
No, I'm sorry.
used to
It's the
be.
CS people because they're starved of good-looking agents. Now suddenly they're like, oh shit, it's
All
a
right,
whole new world.
Hold on. Now I need to go find
Guys,
you our
I was
incredibly
joking. We
attractive
don't need
agents.
to fill up 20 minutes at the
We
end.
got
I was
incredibly
joking.
attractive agents like Condom Head Man and there's other ones. We're beautiful. We're beautiful. Thank you very much.
Okay, dude.
There's Rambo. There's Mongoose BC. We got the hotness. But anyway, I blame the Overwatch community for bringing it over and infecting Valorant Twitter because some of you guys really need to take some cold showers. Paul included. Cody, I know you're listening. You too. We're gonna wrap up the show. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next week. Don't get horny for characters. See you next
Or
week,
do.
1 p.m.
do.
Eastern,
It's your
or do.
life.
I'm not your dad. Live your life. Bye.